OU professor and State House News columnist Tom Suddes joins us now. Thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you.
What's your take on what happened yesterday with Issue 2?
Issue 2 was a wake-up call to State House Republicans that they had overreached on this particular legislation. A broad coalition of independents and Democrats, and some Republicans thought that it was not a good measure, and they used their right to veto it, and they did decisively.
Does Labor get most of the credit for the defeat of Senate Bill 5?
Labor gets quite a bit of the credit for bankrolling the effort, but I think lots of ordinary people, including some Republicans, believe that the law was not fair to people like teachers and firefighters and police officers whose services they count on and they respect. So that was a statement of concern about where they thought this blah was headed.
This blah? Did you say this blah?
Pardon me?
Did you say this blah was headed?
The law was headed, I'm sorry, yes.
Excuse me. Now, is there a prospect for Issue 2 being revived?
I don't think that's too likely. I think politicians are eminently practical. We sometimes doubt that, I know, given what we see of them. I think that they're going to be twice burned once shy, or once burned twice shy, about the prospects for any serious change. I do think there will be some further run-throughs at the State House over looking at the public employee pension systems. That was going to happen anyway, I suspect, but that may be a way to address some of the concerns Republicans said they had about the financing of public employee payrolls and services.
Now, does Issue 2 carry over into next year's presidential election, or does the battle end here?
Well, that's a very good question. I think there is a lot of evidence that this was a good test of President Obama's organizational campaign for next year in Ohio. As you know, Ohio is pretty essential to a presidential victory by either party. And in a way, all those who support the president who were involved in the Issue 2 repeal were also kind of getting exercise, or getting calisthenics, as it were, for next year politically.
Let's turn to Issue 3 now. This is the opt-out of President Obama's health care overhaul, which 66% of voters approved. Is this vote largely symbolic?
I think it's largely symbolic. I think Attorney General Mike DeWine, who's Ohio's Republican Attorney General, has said that, legally speaking, the vote on Issue 3 will have nothing to do and have no effect on the congressional health care package that was enacted by the President and Congress. It may or may not complicate Ohio state legislation on health care. That we don't know. We know that it'll end up in court one way or the other, but it is, in fact, basically, for our purposes, a symbolic statement about the President's package of health care reforms.
Finally, Issue 1 would have raised the age of judges could serve from 70 to 75. What happened with that one?
That's a good question. That was a surprise to me. I think that those that advocated the amendment did not necessarily do enough groundwork beforehand to get public opinion aware of the issue and what it meant. I also think that people could interpret the age limit, which you had since 1968, as a kind of term limit. And Ohioans have indicated that, rightly or wrongly, they believe strongly in limitations on some people's continuation in office, and you could argue the age limit being kept in place was one of those ways of limiting judges' tenure.
Now, just briefly, talk about the political divide on this issue.
This is interesting. I think that we could certainly say that it is a strong rebuke aimed at the Republicans in the General Assembly and the governor. At the same time, though, there is a certain compartmentalization there politically. The way the legislature is right now, and the maps are being drawn for the next legislative elections, the legislature should say Republican pretty much no matter what happens down the road for the foreseeable future. However, in terms of mobilizing ordinary people to focus on a public issue, Issue 2 certainly got a lot of people, I hate to use the expression, so try to wake-up call.
Right. All right, Tom Suddes, thanks again for stopping by tonight.
It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.